scorching heat, blistering hard courts. And one man still smiling through it all, Carlos Alcaraz. At the 2025 Cincinnati Open, temperatures soared past 30 degrees Celsius, the kind of heat that presses down on you like a heavy blanket. Humidity wrapped around every breath, turning each inhale into a gulp of thick summer air, while the hard court beneath their feet could easily have fried an egg. For most players, it was a nightmare. For Carlos Alcaraz, the world number 2, it was just another challenge to master. This wasn't just any victory for the 22-year-old Spaniard. This match marked a milestone, his 50th win of the season, a number that only the most elite players in tennis history can consistently achieve. And the way he got there was as impressive as the milestone itself. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Alcaraz kept his cool in the hottest conditions of the year and turned the Cincinnati heat into his secret weapon. The Cincinnati Open, officially known as the Western and Southern Open, is one of the most prestigious Masters 1000 events on the ATP calendar. It's a crucial stop before the US Open, and every year it attracts the best players in the world. But 2025 brought something extra, some of the most brutal weather conditions players have faced all season. The sun was relentless, baking the court and making every bounce of the ball a little quicker, a little higher, and a lot more unpredictable. The air was thick and heavy, making recovery between points harder. Sweat poured from athletes within minutes of stepping onto the court. Some players took extra medical timeouts just to cool their bodies down. Others slowed their pace of play, trying to buy themselves a few extra seconds to breathe. Even spectators, shaded under hats and sunglasses, were fanning themselves desperately, sipping water, and moving into whatever shade they could find. But when Carlos Alcaraz stepped onto the court to face Medvedev, he didn't look rattled. He didn't even look bothered. In fact, if anything, he looked ready. In his post-match interview, Alcaraz revealed one of the key mental strategies he uses to survive in extreme heat, and it's surprisingly simple, remembering that both players are dealing with the same conditions. Sometimes we forget about the opponent, he said. The opponent is struggling as well, or even much more than you are. It's a small shift in mindset, but it changes everything. Instead of focusing on his own discomfort, his own fatigue, his own sweat-soaked shirt, he shifts the focus outward. If the heat is making him suffer, it's probably hitting his opponent even harder, and that becomes a mental advantage. Tennis is as much a battle of willpower as it is of skill, and that perspective gives him confidence to push just a little harder, knowing his opponent might crack first. Of course, part of his resilience comes from his roots. Carlos Alcaraz was born and raised in Murcia, Spain, a region famous for its searing summer heat. As a kid, he played countless hours on outdoor courts where the sun was merciless and shade was practically a luxury. There were no climate-controlled training facilities. You learned to adapt, or you didn't last long. I'm from Murcia, it's really hot as well. I just tell myself you have to get used to it, he explained. That upbringing didn't just prepare his body for hot conditions, it forged a mental toughness that's difficult to teach. While some players start thinking about the heat after just a few games, Carlos sees it as normal. To him, this isn't hostile territory, it's home court weather. And that familiarity can make all the difference. But staying cool in such conditions isn't only about physical endurance, it's also about tactical thinking. The heat changes the game. It can make balls bounce higher, increase fatigue more quickly, and amplify the mental pressure. Smart players know they have to adapt. Alcaraz studies his opponent's body language as much as their shot selection. If he notices that they're starting to breathe heavier, towel off more often, or move a fraction slower to the ball, that's his cue to extend the rallies. Long, grinding points force them to run more, dig deeper, and eventually make more mistakes. If he feels his own energy dipping, he flips the strategy, shortening points with aggressive returns, hitting flat winners down the line, or taking early approaches to the net. The goal is to keep the match on his terms, managing his stamina while making his opponent spend theirs. Against Medvedev, the plan was clear. Early in the match, Alcaraz kept the rallies balanced, not too short, not too long, to feel out his opponent's condition. But midway through the first set, the signs were there. Medvedev began stretching his neck, moving a little slower between points, and wiping sweat from his brow more often. That was all Alcaraz needed to see. He began pushing him side to side, forcing lung-burning runs and awkward recovery shots. The errors came, the points piled up, and the momentum tilted completely in Carlos's favor. The result? A straight sets victory, 6-4, 6-4, in just over 90 minutes. It wasn't the kind of match that will be remembered for jaw-dropping trick shots or marathon rallies, but it was a masterclass in match management. Controlled, precise, and relentlessly efficient. The win also extended Alcaraz's Masters 1,000 winning streak to 13 matches, an impressive statistic that speaks to his dominance on the biggest stages outside of the Grand Slams. More importantly, it proved that oppressive heat doesn't have to be a disadvantage. In the right hands, it can become a weapon, one that slowly wears down the opponent while the mentally stronger player keeps control. And make no mistake, this wasn't just another victory to pad his stats. This was a historic moment. With this match, Carlos Alcaraz became the first ATP player since Novak Djokovic to record 4 consecutive seasons with 50 or more wins. That's not just impressive, it's rare air. These kinds of records aren't built on good weeks or lucky draws. They're built on season-long consistency, adaptability, and the ability to win in every possible condition, whether it's under the bright lights of a night session or under the brutal midday sun. Alcaraz also made an honest admission that most fans might not expect from a top athlete. In more than half of the matches he plays, he says he doesn't feel perfect physically. Fatigue, minor injuries, or simply an off day are all part of the sport. But the difference between champions and the rest is that champions find a way to win anyway. For Alcaraz, that means leaning even more on his mental sharpness when his body isn't at 100%. It means reading his opponent better, choosing smarter shots, and making sure he's conserving energy where he can without giving away control of the match. His performance in Cincinnati leaves us with some valuable takeaways, not just for tennis players, but for anyone facing tough conditions. First, mindset is everything. The player who can stay mentally tougher in the heat, who sees it as a challenge instead of a punishment, is already ahead. Second, adapt your tactics to the situation. Don't try to play the same way in extreme heat as you would in mild conditions. Know when to shorten points and when to lengthen them. And third, use your background to your advantage. What feels unbearable to others might be manageable to you if you've trained for it. Carlos Alcaraz's victory in the Cincinnati heat wasn't just a win, it was a statement. It showed that with the right mindset, the toughest conditions can become an opportunity. He turned the heat into a weapon, and in doing so, took another step toward cementing his place as one of the most complete and resilient players of his generation. He's not just a shot maker. He's not just a physical powerhouse. He's a thinker, a player who can read the game, read his opponent, and read the situation, then find the perfect way to come out on top. And in tennis, that combination is what makes legends. So what do you think? Is Carlos Alcaraz the best player in the world at handling extreme conditions right now? Can anyone else match his mental toughness in the heat? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tennis stories, player profiles, and behind-the-scenes looks at the sport we love.